What is that right there?
Oh my god, man. I cannot believe this.
So this happened around 2012. I was living in Florida at the time, and typically I like to go out at nighttime to take walks. But this particular night, I went out kind of late. I usually like to go, say, between 6 in the afternoon till about 8. But this was more like, I want to say, more like 10:30, 11, maybe a little later. But so, I decided to take a walk because I didn't take one that day. So I really wanted to go out and take a walk. So I did. One of my friends was at the time on the phone with me. And we were just kind of chit-chatting about life and back and forth while I took a walk. And in my neighborhood, you can take a walk around, the neighborhood, and most of the time you're okay. You're safe. Of course, in South Florida, you don't want to be. You just don't want to be out that late. But I took a chance. I said, "What the heck? Let's go out there." So that while I was talking to my friend, I remember going around the neighborhood. There's this section of the neighborhood, though, where the houses were kind of in a maybe in a darker area. I want to say the lights on the streets didn't quite hit them as much, so it was kind of dark back there. Not to an excessive amount, but I could say that it was darker than maybe other areas of the neighborhood. So I remember going around and coming back, and remember I was talking to my friend and I heard this noise, kind of like a child, crying. So I kind of ignored it. I didn't really pay attention to it. We were talking about something on the phone, and I didn't really go into that in my mind. I just kind of kept walking. And you got to understand that I usually took like maybe 6 or 7 laps around the neighborhood, taking about maybe 45 to an hour sometimes. So I remember coming back towards that area because I was going around the neighborhood. And I was on the phone still with my friend, and I heard this crying again. So it really started to pique my interest, and it interrupted our conversation that me and my friend were having. And it was funny because I even stopped them on the phone. I said, "Hey, listen, man. Let me get back to you. I'm kind of hearing this noise." So he was like, "Well, what kind of noise are you hearing?" I was like, to be honest with you, it's like a baby crying. And I remember him telling me, like, "Well, it's this late at night. What would a baby be doing out at so late at night?" I didn't know how to answer that. I was like, "Well, let me just call you back and I'll let you know." And when I hung up with him, I kept hearing off in the distance like there was a baby crying. And I really didn't know how to answer this question. I was thinking it's like 11 o'clock at night, maybe a little later. It's dark out here. It just rained because it just had rained out there. And I was just thinking, yeah, like, what would a baby be doing outside, or out here? So I started to follow the sound, and I remember, getting closer to the sound and getting closer, and I thought, okay, so I'm getting closer to it. And I remember that once I started to get closer, let's say to the 100 feet range, then it wasn't really a baby to me anymore. It was more like and you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but it was like a baby lamb crying. I don't know if you guys have ever had a baby lamb cry or whatnot, but have you ever heard of one on YouTube or something? But it was crying, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not a baby, maybe it's a baby lamb. But then I thought to myself, as I was kind of stopping in the middle of my walking, I said, well, that's weird. What would a baby lamb be doing in a very, it wasn't like I lived in the country, it wasn't like I lived near some type of farm or something. I was smack in the middle of, a sort of mid to big city. So my mind tried to rationalize why I was hearing a baby lamb in my neighborhood. And the only explanation, I thought, well, maybe one of the neighbors, had a baby lamb in their, who knows, in their backyard or whatever, and that baby lamb got loose, and now it's crying, and it's looking for its place to go back. So I was expecting to run into this baby lamb and, maybe, knock to the nearest door in my neighborhood in that area to see if somebody lost a lamb. I don't know. That was sort of my thoughts, but I could have also just said, let me take the baby lamb back to my house, right? Anyway, so as I kept walking closer and closer to this noise, this sound, your eyes adjust to the darkness. You can start to see more and see better. This part of the neighborhood, it was dark, yes, but it wasn't pitch black. You could still make out trees fine and dirt and roots. I remember seeing all that, and remember seeing the grass and everything. I vividly saw things as my eyes became adapted to that area of darkness. And while I finally reached the area, I could clearly hear the noise now. It was still a baby lamb crying, but I could not make out where the baby lamb was. And I was looking at this thing like, where is it? Where's the baby lamb? Although I could hear the noise like 3 feet in front of me by the side of a tree, I could not see physically the baby lamb. And it was the weirdest thing because I just stood there, kind of like wondering, what the hell is going on here? Is this a joke? Is this like some type of toy mechanism? So I got a little bit closer to take a closer look. And as soon as I did that, I kid you not, the sound of this baby lamb slowly started to rise. And there was nothing there. There was nothing there. And I heard it the noise. I heard the noise, the sound. I heard it. I could follow it. You know, I couldn't see it, but I could follow the noise. And it started to ascend, you know, and it quickly ascended above me. And it quickly ascended above the, you know, the trees. It was, I don't want to say it was above the tree line. It was right underneath the tree line. And boy, did that thing after that just kind of floated. The sound just floated away from me, and I didn't see it, but I heard the noise float like 500 or 600 feet from, you know, away from me into the other side of a fence, where the other side of the fence was just. It was just, there was nothing there. It was mainly just acreage. Like, you know, just flat acreage out there. Maybe there's trees or whatever there might be there. But at the time, there was nothing there, you know. And I just remember just you know, wondering what that was. And I got back, you know, on the phone with my friend. I told him this incredible, crazy story about the sound of a lamb. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed that. What would you have done if you would have had that experience? Like, it was crazy. But, you know, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I'll see you guys soon.